Hello guys, I'm Anand, Karthik and welcome to my channel. And in today's video we are about to see two different countries and let's see how they developed and reached this stage of who they are in the present world. Okay, let's start with Nauru, our first country. And this is a small island nation located about 1500 kilometers off Australia in the Pacific Ocean, and it used to be a toilet for the migrating birds for millions of years. So they used to poop on this island for millions of years. This caused a high deposit of phosphate, which is a key component, which is the backbone of natural fertilizer. So at the mid of 1980s or 1970s, the availability of huge amount of phosphate was discovered in Nauru, and this country began exporting all those phosphates by digging it in mines and selling it worldwide. So at the end of 1980s, Nauru became the richest country. That means has the highest GDP. It had about 49,000 people, and they had about a balance of 100,000 US dollars in their accounts. They had the income of 100,000 US dollars per account, but Nauru imposed no taxes on them. The government began exporting the phosphate in a very high amount and in a very high rate that all the phosphate reserves in the country were depleted, and the country which once was a very fertile land turned into a wasteland where nothing could grow. So this country imported canned foods from Australia, and they don't have any skills in proper money management. So they mismanaged all the money and they invested it all around the world, like hotels in London and etc. And they opened a bank called Nauru Investment Bank, which is a very free bank, but Russian hackers used this bank in a wrong way, and this led to a very great loss to Nauru. And this led to a huge loss to Nauru because the Russian hackers mismanaged the bank and led to a huge loss. So next, the Nauru gave permissions for Australia to be a refugee camp, and this led to serious damages to the Nauru's name worldwide. As they were eating all the canned food, and this tiny nation became the world's fattiest nation and the world's obese nation, and it also is also topping the rank by being the least visited country of all time. Okay, next we are about to see our second country, which is Qatar, which is located in the Gulf region nearby to the United Arab Emirates. This was once a poor fishing village in the early 1900s, but when the natural gas was discovered in this village, and this village began to grow up by exporting natural gas, and they created many more facilities and many more innovations in the production and exporting of natural gas. And by the end of 1950s, 60s and 70s, at the end of 1980s, Qatar became the richest nation in the world in the GDP, and they also gave place to the United States to build a military camp in there, which caused it to acquire conflict between all the other neighboring Arab nations. So Qatar became quite powerful and quite productive by the influence of the United States, and it was the third largest exporter of compressed natural gas in the world. But unlike Nauru, it had the most proper management of money. The government of Qatar had organized a committee called as the Qatar Power. The main motive of this committee is to invest all the income generated from the natural gas sector into other sectors so that they could create a permanent income, and they had did so that all the investments they had invested in a huge amount of real estate and finance and also research, and all this investment made Qatar to be the top member of the GDP list, as they have the highest amount of GDP in the world than any other countries. Okay guys, till now I have explained about two countries. We could see that the two countries, the Nauru and Qatar, they had the same source of income, that is the natural sources, but the governance had made Qatar to be the highest member of GDP, and Nauru be one of the lowest members of GDP, and Nauru is now the least visited nation in the world and also the most obese nation, while Qatar attracts millions of inhabitants, immigrants throughout the year. Okay guys, hope you listen to this video. I'll see you in the next video tomorrow. Until then, bye from Anand, Karthik.